neural net is just a whole bunch of probabilities. I mean, it sort of ends up being a giant comma-separated value file. It's like, our digital God is a CSV file? Really? Okay. But that is kind of what it is.
Yeah. No, that point you've just made is one that we have been talking about a lot because, again, conversations with the people who are developing the technology make the point that you've just made. It is not like normal software where there's predictability about inputs improving leading to this particular output improving.
Yeah.
And as the models iterate and improve, we don't quite know what's going to come out the other end. I think Demis would agree with that, which is why I think there is this bias for that we need to get in there while the training runs are being done before the models are released to understand what is this new iteration brought about in terms of capability, which it sounds like you would agree with. I was going to shift gears a little bit. You've talked a lot about human consciousness, human agency, which actually might strike people as strange, given that you are known for being such a brilliant innovator and technologist, but it's quite heartfelt when I hear you talk about it and the importance of maintaining that agency in technology and preserving human consciousness.
Yeah.
Now, that kind of links to the thing I was going to ask is, when I do interviews or talk to people out and about in this job about AI, the thing that comes up most actually is probably not so much the stuff we've been talking about, but jobs. It's what does AI mean for my job?
Yeah.
Is it going to mean that I don't have a job, or my kids are not going to have a job? Now, my answer as a policymaker, as a leader, is actually AI is already creating jobs, and you can see that in the companies that are starting. Also, the way it's being used is a little bit more as a co-pilot necessarily versus replacing the person. There's still human agency, but it's helping you do your job better, which is a good thing. And as we've seen with technological revolutions in the past, clearly there's change in the labor market, the amount of jobs. I was quoting an MIT study today that they did a couple of years ago. Something like 60% of the jobs at that moment didn't exist 40 years ago, so hard to predict. And my job is to create an incredible education system, whether it's at school, whether it's retraining people at any point in their career, because ultimately if we've got a skilled population, they'll be able to keep up with the pace of change and have a good life. But that it's still a concern. And what would your kind of observation be on AI and the impact on labor markets and people's jobs, and how they should feel about that as they think about this?
Well, I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history here. Where we have for the first time, we will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. And that, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything. So I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable. That's why I say if you wish for a magic genie, that gives you any wishes you want, and there's no limit. You don't have those three wish limit nonsense. You just have as many wishes as you want. It's both good and bad. One of the challenges in the future will be, how do we find meaning in life? If you have a magic genie that can do everything you want, I do think it's hard. When there's new technology, it tends to usually follow an S-curve. In this case, we're going to be on the exponential portion of the S-curve for a long time, and you'll be able to ask for anything. It won't be, and we won't have universal basic income. We'll have universal high income. So in some sense, it'll be somewhat of a leveler or an equalizer, because really, I think everyone will have access to this magic genie, and you'll be able to ask any question. It'll certainly be good for education. It'll be the best tutor you could, and the most patient tutor. Sit there all day. But there will be no shortage of goods and services. It will be an age of abundance. I think I'd recommend people read Ian Banks. The Banks culture books are probably the best envisioning. In fact, not probably. They're definitely by far the best envisioning of an AI future. There's nothing even close. So I'd really recommend Banks. I'm a very big fan. All his books are good. There's not say which one. All of them. So that'll give you a sense of what is I guess, a fairly utopian or protopian future with AI.
Yeah. Which is good from as you said, it's a universal high income, which is a nice phrase, and it's good from a kind of materialistic sense, age of abundance. Actually, that it kind of then leads to the question that you posed, right? I'm someone who believes, work gives you meaning, right? I talk a lot about that as a leader. I think work is a good thing. It gives people purpose in their lives, and if you then remove a large chunk of that, what does that mean, and where do you get that?
Yeah.
Where do you get that drive, that motivation, that purpose? I mean, you were talking about it. You work a lot of hours.
I do. As I was mentioning when we were talking earlier, I have to somewhat engage in deliberate suspension of disbelief because if I'm putting so much blood, sweat, and tears into a work project and burning the 3 a.m. oil, then I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? I can just wait for the AI to do it. I'm just lashing myself for no reason.
Yeah.
Must be a glutton for punishment or something.
We call Demis and tell him to hurry up, and then you can have a holiday, right? That's the plan. Yeah, no, it's a tricky thing because I think part of our job is to make sure that we can navigate to that very, I think, largely positive place that you're describing.
It is, I think,
and help
largely
help
positive,
people through it between now and then, because these things bring a lot about change in the labor market, as we've seen.
Yeah, I think it probably is generally a good thing because there are a lot of jobs that are uncomfortable or dangerous or sort of tedious, and the computer will have no problem doing that. They're happy to do that all day long. So, it's fun to cook food, but it's not that fun to wash the dishes. But the computer's perfectly happy to wash the dishes. And I guess there is, we still have sports like where humans compete in like the Olympics, and obviously a machine can go faster than any human, but we still have humans race against each other, and have have these sports competitions against each other where even though the machines are better, they're still, I guess, competing to see who can be the best human at something.
Yeah.
And people do find fulfillment in that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's perhaps a good example of how even when machines are faster than us, stronger than us,
we still find a way.
We still enjoy competing against other humans to at least see who's the best human.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. And we've been talking a lot about managing the risks. Just before we move on and finish on AI, is just talk a little bit about the opportunities. You're engaged in lots of different companies, Neuralink being an obvious one, which is doing some exciting stuff. You touched on the thing that I'm probably most excited about, which is in education.
Yeah.
And I think many people will have seen Sal Khan's video from earlier this year, his TED Talk about, as you talked about, it's like personal tutor.
Yeah, personal tutor, an amazing personal tutor.
An amazing personal tutor, and we know the difference in learning. Having that personalized tutor is incredible compared to classroom learning.
Yeah.
So if you can have every child have a personal tutor specifically for them that then just evolves with them over time, that could be extraordinary. And so that, for me, I look at that, I think, gosh, that is within reach at this point, and that's one of the benefits I'm most excited about. Like when you look at the landscape of things that you see as possible, what is it that you are particularly excited about?
I think certainly AI tutors are going to be amazing. Perhaps already are. I think there's also perhaps companionship, which may seem odd because how can the computer really be your friend? But if you have an AI that has memory, and remembers all of your interactions and has read you can say like give it permission to read everything you've ever done, so it really will know you better than anyone, perhaps even yourself. And where you can talk to it every day, and those conversations build upon each other, you will actually have a great friend. As long as that friend can stay your friend and not get turned off or something. Don't turn off my friend. But I think that will actually be a real thing. And one of my sons is sort of has some learning disabilities and has trouble making friends actually. And I was like, well, an AI friend would actually be great for him.
Oh, okay. That was a surprising answer, but that's actually worth reflecting on. That's really interesting. I mean, we're already seeing it actually as we deliver, psychotherapy anyway, now doing far more by digitally and by telephone to people, and it's making a huge difference. And you can see a world in which actually, AI can provide that social benefit to people. Just a quick question on X, and then we should open it up to everybody. You made a change when you, in one of the, well, made many changes, but
yeah, quite a few.
One of the changes.
You love that letter.
Yeah.
I've got a real thing about it.
You really do. You really do. One of the changes, which kind of goes into the space that we have to operate in, and this balance between free speech and moderation is something we grapple with as politicians. Sure. You were grappling with your own version of that, and you moved away from a kind of manual human. Yeah. Way of doing it, the moderation, to the community notes, and I think that's it was an interesting change, right? It's not what everyone else has done. It would be good. What was the reasoning behind that, and why do you think that is a better way to do that?
Part of the problem is if you empower people as censors, then there's going to be some amount of bias they have, and then whoever appoints the censors is effectively in control of information. So then. The idea behind community notes is, well, how do we have a consensus-driven, so it's not really censoring it, but consensus-driven approach to truth. How do we make things the least amount untrue? Like you can say, one can't perhaps get to pure truth, but you can aspire to be more truthful. So the thing about community notes is it doesn't actually delete anything, it simply adds context. Now that context could be, this thing is untrue for the following reasons. But importantly with community notes, everything is open source actually, so you can see the software, every line of the software, you can see all of the data that went into a community note, and you can independently create that community note. So if you see manipulation of the data, you can actually highlight that and say, well, there appears to be some gaming of the system, and you can suggest improvements. So it's maximum transparency, which is, I think,
combined with a kind of wisdom of the crowds and transparency to get to a better answer.
And really, one of the key elements of community notes is that in order for a note to be shown, people who have historically disagreed must agree. And there is a bit of AI usage here. So we'll populate a parameter space around each contributor to community notes, and then a parameter space. So everyone's got basically these vectors associated with them. So it's not as simple as right or left. It's saying it's several hundred vectors that because things are more complicated than simply right or left, and then we'll do sort of inverse correlation. Say like, okay, these people generally disagree, but they agree about this note.
Okay, so then
that gives the note credibility.
Okay.
That's the core of it, and it's working quite well.
Yeah.
I've yet to see a note actually be present for more than a few hours that is incorrect. So the batting average is extremely good. And when I ask people, say, oh, they're worried about community notes sort of being disinformation, I like, send me one, and then they can't.